Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time if you've never seen my videos before. My name is Bryn, I am transgender and non-binary, and I make videos about those topics. So about 2 months ago, I filmed a video telling all of you that I will be getting bottom surgery soon, and how excited I was, and all this kind of stuff. And I am so excited to say that surgery is this close. I'm still not going to give out the official date of surgery, but I will be making videos throughout my recovery, about my recovery, and even like filming myself like in the hospital and how I'm feeling and stuff like that to give a very like raw, authentic idea of how I'm feeling instead of just filming a month or two after talking about what I was feeling. You can see it in the moment. So the reason that I'm filming this video is because when I made my video 2 months ago, I was feeling very, very good about surgery, and there was nothing negative that I was feeling at all. But since then, I've had to work through a lot of really heavy emotions, some of which I was expecting, but I was not expecting them to be that intense. Some of them I was not even expecting. So I wanted to talk about that here, obviously. So if you're interested, keep watching. The main things that I want to talk about that really came to the surface were my issues with the belief system that I was raised with, the issues that I have with my family, and the issues that I have with commitment. All three of those things have really risen to the surface, and they were so intense that I really didn't feel grounded for a long part of these past 2 months because I had so much to work through and I couldn't figure out how to work through it. So a little overview just about my life before I get into this. As a child and as a teenager, I made all of my decisions based purely on my emotions, and I realized that that was very destructive and not necessarily the best way to approach decision making. And the way that I fixed that was by being 100% logical and trying to shut off my emotions. And that's not necessarily the best thing either, because what ended up happening was instead of feeling my feelings and working through them, I was pushing away a lot of my feelings in order to pick the logical decision. And that is why a lot of these feelings started popping up. About a year ago, I ended a relationship with a partner that I had for about 2 years. And since then, I have really been embracing my emotional side and working with the feelings that I feel instead of suppressing them if they don't make logical sense to me. So I think within the past year, this has been really preparing me for the emotions that have come up these past 2 months, for sure. But these all really hit me like a ton of bricks, and oh my God. So the first thing that I want to talk about is it wasn't too long after I posted my last video. I actually had one of you reach out to me, and I forget exactly what you said, but something along the lines of like, oh, like I feel like I would have more fears than you do. And I was like, I'm not feeling scared at all. And then like a few days later, I messaged them back and I was like, so all the fears are hitting me. Everything just really like came to the surface, and it was a lot. And the reason that it came to the surface at that point was simply because of my decision making, the issues that I had with commitment. I probably still have commitment issues, but not going too much into detail, because I do have a whole video on being raised as a Christian. If you're interested in that, I will have it down below and up here as well. But that has really played a huge impact on my decision-making skills, because I was taught essentially never to trust yourself, and that God always has the answer, aka read the Bible and it'll tell you exactly what to do, and you won't have to rely on yourself because you'll just be relying on God, I guess. But basically it was like any decision you ever make, you're either being influenced by God or you're being influenced by Satan, and there's no in between. Everything's black and white, no question about it. And being taught that from such a young age, even though it probably sounds a little strange to people who weren't raised as a Christian to actually like understand what that feels like to believe that, but it really teaches you to doubt yourself 100% of the time. It teaches you that you cannot make your own decisions. Do not trust your intuition. Do not trust your gut. Like, the answers are all laid out for you, and don't you ever dare think for yourself, or you're just lying to yourself. And so to be told that you're always lying to yourself anytime you make a decision that doesn't align with the Bible is like something that's very hard to uninternalize because you're always questioning, well, am I just lying to myself? Do I just, like, am I such a good liar that I don't even know that I'm lying? Like, it's like this, oh, it's horrible. I don't even know, like, how the heck, like, it's traumatized. Honestly, it was traumatizing for me to be raised as a Christian. Like, it's just, and maybe some people don't feel that way, and that's great. That's great for you. But like, for me, it was incredibly traumatizing. The fear of commitment, it did not creep in. It came in like a tidal wave. It was like so dramatic. And I started freaking out, and I was having like, not like an anxiety attack, like where I couldn't breathe and stuff, but like my heart was racing for like 24 hours straight. Like, I was like, when is this gonna go away? And like, it didn't matter like what I said to myself, what I tried to do. I couldn't even process my feelings because I didn't know what they were, because all I felt was panic. And I hate when that happens. I hate the feeling of panic. It really just not subsides. It like covers up everything else, and that's all you can feel. And it was very, very, I don't even know the word. I ended up calling my brother, who is very good at supporting me, and he's very good at listening and giving his input without pressuring me to make any sort of decision. And he really helped me, because he kind of talked through things for me because I couldn't talk through them myself. And on top of that, he actually sent me a video, which I'll have linked down below, of a woman, I think her name is Ashley Adams, if I remember correctly. She's a trans woman, and it was a video that she made right before she got FFS. And she was visually upset. I think she was crying in part of it, talking about how hard it was to let go of this face that she's known for so long, even though she knows that FFS is what she needs to feel less dysphoric and to feel like herself. There's this familiarity that comes with the body that you currently have, that you've lived with your whole life, that's very hard to let go of. And that was what I was struggling with at that time. Like, I know I need surgery in order to connect with my body, but I am familiar with what I have. I know how to handle it. I know what to do with it, and like, just everything about it, I know it. Like, I could write an essay on how to deal with this thing. Like, I don't know. Whereas when I get surgery, I would not be able to write an essay. I won't know anything. And that's terrifying, to basically rip the rug out from under yourself. Is like, it sounds counterproductive. It sounds counteractive. Why would you do that? But like, the way I see it is like, maybe right here, I'm here. And then right after surgery, I'm going to be like down here. But then when it's all said and done, I'm going to be up here. And I want to be here. But I'm scared because I'm going to go lower than I am right now. And it's a hard thing to willingly do to yourself. But it was because I was not focusing on the long term. I was focusing on right away. Even like, what does the long term mean? Is that going to be 6 months after surgery? Is it going to be a year, 3 years? Like, how long is it going to take? Like, I can't have any expectations about the future because I have no idea what to expect. And it just feels very, very unstable. And that was really hard for me to grasp. But my brother helped me with the things that he was saying, and her video, Ashley Adams' video, really helped me with the way that I was feeling. She put it into words for me, and it like really helped calm me down, and it was really great. And I was so glad she made that video. Like I said, I'll have it down below if you're interested. I haven't watched a whole lot of her videos, but I've watched a few of them, and I like the things that she says. But that was the first one that I'd ever seen of her, and it really helped because, you know, I feel like you see so many times people talking about you know, specifically trans people, like, oh, I'm getting FFS, or I'm getting SRS, or I'm getting top surgery, or like, you know, whatever the case, I'm starting HRT, and like, they say they're gonna do it, and then they do it, and they're like, it's great, I'm so glad I did it, and like, maybe some people really just feel that way, but like, I feel like there's this gap that's missing of like, what was difficult about it? What, like, and like, so it made me feel alone, and it made me feel like, am I missing something? Am I like not doing something right? Like, you know, and then it made me question everything with being raised religious. Like, oh my God, like, I don't know. It was just like so many feelings, but watching her video and knowing that like the feelings that I was feeling were actually normal really helped a lot. It helped me take that doubt that was planted in me as a child and flick it over there. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was I ended up emailing 2 people in my family who I'm not super close to, but I do see them maybe like once a month, once every other month. And I knew that if they would find out after surgery at some point and I told them I got surgery, I think that they would be upset because they're very, not like upset. I don't know. I felt like they would like to know if I was getting an invasive surgery. Like, not even including the fact that it was trans, just the fact that I was getting surgery, they would like to know, because that's a big thing. And on top of that, I've had a very surface level relationship with them for all of my life. And with accessing my emotions through this past year and accepting my feelings and stuff, I've really been, even before then, but I've really been trying to be more open with them and talk about things that we wouldn't normally talk about, because in my head, like, I don't care about surface level crap. Like, I mean, like, yeah, tell me, like, oh, you went and saw so-and-so or had a nice dinner with so-and-so, like, that's fine, but, like, that doesn't tell me anything about who you are. And I felt like all they knew about me was, like, how's work? How's this? How's that? And I'm like, but what about how's me? How's my heart? How's the love that I'm gaining? Like, I, you know, told you I'm working on my feelings and stuff like that. Like, those are the things that to me make up a person. So I've been trying to be more open about those kinds of things with them, because even if they do disapprove of me being trans or whatever, at least they know. At least they know who I am. Even if they don't want to believe it or don't want to accept it or don't want to, like, whatever, at least they know. And it's taken me a while to get to that point, because it can be very triggering to feel rejected by your family. But I decided now was time. So I told them that I was getting surgery. I did it over email, just because I get very nervous around them, and I felt like I could articulate things better over email. Plus, I knew they weren't going to be like, okay, thanks for letting us know. Like, and I felt like if they had any, like, if they were angry or they were confused or like anything like that, like, they would have time to process it, and it wouldn't turn into or it would have a less likely possibility of turning into a fight, because it's over email and we have the time to process the things that each other says, without having to interact right away when we hear this information. And honestly, I mean, they weren't where I wanted them to be, but I wasn't expecting them to be where I wanted them to be. I felt like they were very respectful for where their beliefs were or are, and they did the best to respect what I was telling them, and told me they really appreciated me telling them that I was getting surgery and stuff like that. But I think even just telling them and not having the most positive reaction in the world, I think that really triggered me again with the unhealed stuff that I have with my family and with religion. Because I felt, growing up, I felt between me and my mother's very, very religious. There was always like this battle, like almost like this power imbalance that one of us had to be right and the other had to be wrong, and we were always fighting to be right. And it was, on some level, definitely very egotistical, and it was because, like, from my end, I was like, I want you to validate me, and I feel invalidated if you think that I'm wrong. And it felt really hurtful, and it really damaged my self-esteem as well, because I didn't have a very good self-esteem, and my mother was the only one who really gave me a good self-esteem. So then when I was LGBT and she stopped making me feel good about myself, I literally just had no one that made me feel good about myself, and I didn't know how to make myself feel good about myself, and it was a really like tough thing to go through for sure. But I think when it comes to me being trans and my family being of the Christian faith or whatever, there's this instinct of me to fight and to be right and to prove that I'm right and they're wrong. And that's been something I've really been working on, because I know I can't prove to anybody anything. You can show all the facts you want, you can share all the feelings you want, you can do whatever you want. If somebody doesn't want to believe something, they just won't. It doesn't matter. It's not about searching for truth. It's about what they want to hear, what they want to believe. And I can't change that. And it's not my job to change that either. It's not. And I wasted a lot of energy with my mother trying to do that. And so I don't want to waste energy trying to do that with somebody else. But that instinct is still there. This like instinct to push for validation basically is still there. Even though I don't need it, I still want it, and I still instinctually do it. Or search for it, or fight for it is probably the better word. Sometimes it's hard having conversations with them, because I have to like let go of my pride for a second and just speak from what I'm feeling, and not from a place of I need to teach them that I'm right, you know? And it's not an easy thing to do, but it's something that I think I did pretty well. I know I got defensive at one point over the email, and I ended up responding and saying like, sorry, like I know I sounded very defensive, like blah blah blah, let me take a step back, whatever. Yeah, so the emails went fine, I guess, but it was still hard. And I ended up seeing them a few weeks ago, I'm not sure, maybe a month ago, after we had exchanged a few emails and a few weeks had passed. And I went over to see them just for other stuff, and I was honestly surprised they ended up bringing up the surgery, which they're not the type to talk about things that are uncomfortable. So I was like, I really hope they don't bring this up. The one time they decide to bring up something that's uncomfortable is the one time I don't want them to. Because like, I don't mind talking about uncomfortable things, but I did not want to talk about that. Anyways, I felt like they were respectful. They said, you know, we're not going to tell you not to get surgery, like, even though it's very clear that, like, if I asked for their opinion, that would be what their opinion is. They ended up giving me a book that was about someone who transitioned and then detransitioned, and it was all very biased, very Christian, stuff like that. And when they gave it to me, they were like, you do not have to read this. I'm not even expecting you to read it. But it's something that was recommended to me on the radio or something, and the Christian radio, of course. And, you know, I read it so that I could understand you and all this stuff. And like, I felt like their heart was in the right place. And I think instinctually for them, their like go-to is to say, this is what I think you should do, or this is what I think you shouldn't do. Like, these are my beliefs and this is what it is. Like, and so the fact that they took a step back and said, we're not pushing this down your throat, we're giving you the opportunity, I guess, to listen to what we're thinking if you would like to, but you do not have to. I felt like the way that they went about it was very respectful, even though I don't agree with their beliefs at all. But I felt like they went out of their way to care about me, even though everything inside them was telling them to behave differently. And so I did really appreciate that. My mistake, actually, no, honestly, this wasn't a mistake, but I ended up reading the book, most of it. Well, maybe like 2/3 of it, because in my head, I was like, you know, I want to know what they're reading. I want to know what they think they know about me. You know, they said they read this so that they could understand me, even though it's written by a detransitioner. But, you know, I was like, I want to know what they think. And that was part of what made the book so triggering too, was because I was reading this and I was like, this is what they think? Like, oh God, like this is so bad. It was very, very transphobic. It was a very binary and very like anti-trans, obviously, thing, because it was from a very biased perspective of somebody who detransitioned and went back to the Lord or whatever. But it triggered me because that instinct to prove who I am kept popping up, because it was in this book, it was like this person was throwing all these like BS facts and things into there that like aren't even correct, but I'm like, oh my God, like these people read this and think that this is true, like, and it was just so bad. But then on top of that, there was all the, like, basically like the whole time, so the person was assigned female at birth, transitioned to male, and detransitioned back to female. And she was talking about, like, the whole time she was talking about how she was like going deeper and deeper into hell with every decision that she made, like when she was like transitioning and doing all these like bad things or whatever. And it like brought up all these feelings because everything that she was saying were things that I was taught growing up. And they're things that I logically know to not be true, but they're things that I had not processed emotionally. They were things that I ignored emotionally because I wasn't ready to deal with them, and I wasn't ready to face them head on because it was so triggering. But because I've done so much growth over these past years, and especially within this past year, I was really able to face all these things. And I think that that was really big for me, because in the past I have not been able to face my triggers. I've just felt triggered and ran the other direction. But I was really able to be triggered, feel terrible, and then say, okay, but I need to sit with this and figure it out and work through it. I can't push this down anymore. And I honestly don't know exactly how I did it. I will say what helped me a lot, and this isn't necessarily going to be something that applies for everybody, but with Christianity, I do have a very spiritual side. I do not agree with the Christian religion. I do not agree with a lot of their mindsets. I feel like a lot of the things that they teach and project can be really, really toxic and really, really harmful. Not just to gay and trans people, but like all around the board, like their ideas of consent and like all this stuff. It just, almost none of it, none of the principles, or like not the principle, maybe the principles, I don't know, the principles, the teaching, stuff like that don't align with me, but the spiritual aspect of it does. But because it was so triggering, all of the principles and all of the rules and all of the things like that, I rejected all of it. And I didn't know that I could believe in a higher being and stuff like that without believing in the rest of that stuff. And, you know, I do believe in a higher being. I believe in energies. But I also believe in like reincarnation and past lives and like auras, like things like that that aren't really talked about in Christianity. But I think what really helped me was part of what felt wrong about rejecting Christianity was because I felt like I was rejecting my spiritual side, which was something that resonated with me, but I couldn't figure out how to incorporate spirituality into my life without the Christian aspect of it, if that makes sense. And so definitely over this past year has been really healing for me, because I have been indulging, I guess, in my spiritual side and my intuition and things that I can't really see, things that I can't logically explain, but still accepting them as truth for me. And that's not to say that anyone who isn't spiritual is wrong or something like that. You know, these are just my own feelings and my own beliefs. But I think being able to connect with my spiritual side has really helped me heal from the Christian upbringing that I had. Especially when all this was going on and all these emotions were really intense, I was able to, instead of logically explain away why I don't believe in such and such, or I think that these themes or whatever that the Christian religion has taught me are wrong, instead of using logic to counteract that, I actually used my intuition to counteract that. And actually healed it instead of just suppressing it. And I know that's not gonna work for everybody because not everybody does believe in spirituality on any level, and that's okay. But for me, that's what really helped to heal that, because that was where a lot of my pain was still coming from. I wasn't accepting the fact that I do believe in spirituality. The next thing I want to talk about is, it's still about my family. This surgery is obviously very permanent, and with the body part that I was born with, that body part has shaped my entire life. It has shaped what I was named. It has shaped who I was allowed to be. You know, I used to love The Little Mermaid too, and my parents gave it away to my friend's sister because little boys shouldn't watch The Little Mermaid too. My mother threw away all but 2 of my stuffed animals because little boys shouldn't play with stuffed animals. It shaped the way that I was supposed to be in relationships. It shaped who I was allowed to be attracted to. It shaped basically every part of my experience. And a lot of it was very negative for me. But still, it shaped me. And it's not a part of my identity in the sense that, like, I don't resonate with it and it doesn't make me a man. But it's a part of my experience. It's a part of my identity solely because it shaped the person that I am today. Because had I not gone through that experience, I'd be a very different person today. And that's really hard to let go. To let go of all the experiences that I've had that have made me me. And it's not necessarily letting go of those experiences, but it's letting go of the representation of those experiences. And that's a really hard thing to even process or even say, like, explain how that feels. And I'm very bad at letting go. I'm somebody who holds on. I've been doing a lot better this past year. I've been really propelling forward in every area of my life, but it's still not an easy thing for me. I'm very, very adaptable on the outside, but I'm a Cancer, so I hold on to everything very closely internally, and it's really hard to emotionally let go of things, whether they're good or bad, or whether they had a positive or negative impact on me. They're very hard. It's very hard to let go of things for me because I hold everything so like intimately to me. And so it can almost feel like, I don't want to say abandoning myself. I don't know exactly how to word it, but it's just difficult. And on top of that, the body part that I have now has also shaped how my family has seen me my entire life. And I could pretend, up until now, when I'm about to get surgery, I could pretend that I could be the person that my family wants me to be. And I would never, I know I'm not that person. I know I can't live up to that expectation. But it's hard when it's shoved in your face and you have to deal with it. You can't pretend anymore that, like, things are never going to go back to the way they were. And the way they were was my family all accepted me and I wasn't even me. So now I'm me and my family doesn't accept me. You know, I can't have the best of both worlds, apparently. Apparently I can't. But it's still hard to let go. It is. It's hard. It's hard to feel like you're letting your family down. It's hard to feel like you're disappointing them by being who you are. Like, that's such a degrading kind of feeling, honestly. Like, I don't know why I'm even laughing at that, but it's just, it's sad that being who I am is disappointing. Like, oh God. And like, I know that, like, that's a reflection of them and their beliefs and all that kind of stuff. But it's still a hard thing to really face, you know? So that's something that was hard. Something that actually helped me with that definitely was I ended up writing a letter to my dead name and writing, I don't even remember what I wrote, honestly, but you know, just explaining how I was feeling and like, I don't know, like talking to him almost like he's a different person and giving him like the comfort that I didn't get from my family and giving myself the closure, I guess, that I need in order to move forward. And I know that he's not a different person, but to the world, that's what it is. To my family anyways. Like, he's one person and now I'm getting this surgery and it's gonna shatter that from them. And it's really hard to walk away from that. But it's also very necessary and I'm very glad that I'm doing it, but it is very difficult. Another thing that really helped, this might sound a little goofy to some of you, but some of you will probably be like, oh my God, I totally get that. But so I mentioned that my mother threw away most of my stuffed animals and she left me with two. One that I got when I was 4 that was like my favorite stuffed animal ever, and another one that my mother and I actually sewed together when I was pretty young. And the one that I've had since I was 4, I would bring her to all my doctor's appointments. I would hold her while I was getting blood work because I had to get blood work a lot because of my cystic fibrosis. She came everywhere with me, like everywhere. Her name's Bunny, except it's Bunnie because I was creative. And I got like a huge bin of stuffed animals from Santa when I saw him at the North Pole with the CF Foundation. And for whatever, she's my favorite. She has these long droopy ears. She's like a sock monkey, but she's a bunny. So really quick, this is Bunny, in case you were wondering. Her hands and feet had a bunch of holes, so my grandmother knitted her new hands and feet and sewed them on, and also made her this coat. And then this is the other stuffed animal that my mother did not throw away, the one that she helped me sew. I know that's kind of ironic. She helped me sew a stuffed animal and then threw the rest of them away. But there was a few-year gap. I guess I was getting too old to have stuffed animals or something. But this is Buttons. And these are the only 2 that I have left of the original, like, 50 stuffed animals that I had. But, yeah. And I liked her ears, and I would pretend that they were her hair, and I would do her hair the way that I wished that my hair was, because I always wanted long hair. And I would give her these little hairstyles and stuff. So much so that there's little holes by her ears because I would pull it so tight. But anyways, the other day, like a few days ago, I just got this little, like, idea, I guess. It just popped in my head to basically go find my bunny and, like, just, like, hold her. And it was really healing, honestly, because it felt like I was hugging the child version of me. You know, I feel as though I was, like, basically a little girl, but I was raised as a little boy. And nobody in the world knew that except for Bunny. And so it was really, like, I don't know, something about holding that bunny as I fell asleep, like, I don't know what it was, but it was really healing to do that, for sure. Definitely. I wasn't expecting it to be that healing, but it was like I got to hug the little child that never got to be expressed, and that helped a lot. Like, I remember just holding her and, like, crying for, like, 5 or 10 minutes, like, and not, like, sad crying, but just emotional crying, like, just, this is a lot crying, you know? But it really helped. So if you have a comfort stuffed animal or pillow or, like, whatever the heck that you can connect to your inner child through, I definitely recommend, like, trying to emotionally connect to that. I know it probably sounds a little weird, but I think it can be really healing. So that's everything I have for you today. I appreciate all of you listening. And I hope this helped or gave you some insight, or that it just was entertaining for you. I don't know, but I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye.